Is CMU a shit school? Is it hard? Is it as nerdy as everyone thinks? Well, as a CMU student, I'm here to answer all these questions, so let's find out in this week's video. So I live on campus in one of the Greek houses, which means I get to wake up to one of the most beautiful views in the world. And then I go get ready, and my first class starts at 12 p.m, which means that I get up at around 10:30 or 11. And usually I go downstairs to eat the food that we cater to the house before I go to class. But now we're gonna go outside, and unfortunately it's raining today, but whatever, I would say it rains about 20% of the days. And I guess we're just gonna start off with what is CMU. CMU, or Carnegie Mellon University, is a school in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and it was founded in 1900 by Andrew Carnegie. Pretty much, it's best known for anything to do with STEM, art, drama, engineering, business, and computer science. So here we are at the Gates Building of Computer Science, which is the CS building at CMU. And I'll say it's one of the nicer buildings at CMU, just because it's pretty new. Like, this is pretty extra, but if you put your phone on one of the lab tables, then it'll start charging. This is the lecture hall of my first class, which brings us to our next topic, which is CMU hard? And I would say that, yeah, CMU is pretty fucking hard for me. This is my schedule for this semester, and I'm taking 2 CS courses, 1 math class, and 1 free elective. And the average weekly hours of all my classes added up is like 63 hours or something, which is pretty fucking ridiculous. I would say that I'm pretty saucy at all these classes, and I'm still spending like 55 hours per week. But I would say for CS students, it's not always like this. The semesters vary, and I would say it usually is like 45 hours per week to like 55 hours per week. I would say I definitely feel challenged, but I also find the stuff that I'm learning really interesting, so I would say the work isn't really that big of a deal. But if you do fall behind in class, I would say it's pretty tough. Like, CMU will actually just bone you, so you kind of have to stay focused for the entire semester. But one thing I really like about CMU is how collaborative all the other students are. And I'm not just saying this, I definitely feel that if I had to go through all the classes by myself, I would have a much harder time. But at CMU, there's always other students that I can ask about anything I don't understand, or just to work through an assignment. And I definitely try to pass it on as well. Like, if my classmate is feeling really lost in a course, I'll definitely be there to explain a concept or how to do a problem. But yeah, in general, I think CMU pushes me past my limit academically, and sometimes I don't know if I'm gonna make it. But honestly, that's what I asked for, and that's kind of what I wanted in college, cause I'm trying to change the world and shit, so that's what we gotta do. Alright, you fucks. So now we're gonna head to my favorite library, which is called Sorrell's Library. And on our way, we passed one of the coffee shops on campus called La Prima, and I fuck with this place. Okay, yeah, so we're here at the library, and I really like this place. I think it's pretty nice, and it's also really new. There's tables where I really like working with my friends at, and also if anybody wants to work on something themselves, there's these solo study pods where they can just chill out and do their own thing. Okay, so this brings us to our next topic, which is CMU as nerdy as everyone thinks? If we're talking about just the CS school, I would say that there's some that aren't, but definitely most of them are pretty nerdy, and they're all really chill, but the number of students that pick their nose in public is actually just ridiculous. And you see it all the time, but there's this one time that I remember the most, and there was this guy in lecture that was just middle joint deep in his nose, and he sneezed, and I swear to God, I see a puff of dandruff come out of his hair, and I just didn't really know what to think about it. But the thing is, these are my friends, and I study with them and everything, so I don't know what to tell you, but it's been a year now, and sometimes I just be studying and I find my finger in my nose too. Nah, but for real though, CMU students are some of the smartest people that I've ever met, and being surrounded by them definitely motivates me and has helped me to learn more. And going into CMU, I thought the whole school was gonna be super nerdy, but it's really not, because the CS school is only 15% of all of CMU. There's a lot of other students like business students, art students, and English students, and I would say that they don't pick their nose in public. So I would say that CMU is pretty nerdy, but as a whole, it's definitely not as nerdy as people think, and it has a pretty wide spectrum of different types of students. Okay, so now we're gonna head to what I think is the nicest building on campus, which is the business building, or Tepper. This place is really new, I think it opened a year or 2 ago, and yeah, a lot of people like studying here, and this is where all the business classes are. Okay, so next topic, and that is CMU worth it? So my tuition for last year was like $55K, which is honestly a lot, but I will say that the education is really good and the professors are all super accomplished and the facilities are really nice. Like I can go to the library and 3D print anything I want. But if we're talking about education, like yeah, CMU is really good, but I would say that you can get the same education at any of the top CS schools, especially the state schools that are a lot cheaper. But if you do end up going to CMU and pay the full tuition, like it's not that bad because the average starting salary for CS or engineering is like 110K, which is more than the tuition. At the same time, like I go to CMU and I think that the school helps a tiny bit, but it doesn't matter that much. Like what I've come to believe is that at the end of the day, if we're talking about CS, no matter which school you go to, if you can get really good at CS, whether it's from school or online, and you're not lazy, meaning that you apply to a ton of places, then you'll get a good job with more or less the same salary. I do think that something CMU is missing out on is athletics. Like we're in Division 3 and we're kind of ass, and I feel like there's more noise and people at our hackathons than our football games. And I'm not gonna lie, sometimes I do feel like it'd be super lit to go with my entire school to like our school's basketball game and they'd be really good. But at CMU, that just kind of doesn't really happen. But you know, it's always really easy to complain about stuff, and for me, it's really not that big of a deal. Alright, so now we're gonna talk about, is CMU fun? And yeah, I would say that CMU is pretty fun. Like it's definitely nowhere near to anything like Florida State, but I feel like I still have a pretty good time here. Pretty much every Friday and Saturday there's always like a party, a mixer, or an event that's happening. And I guess on weekends, I'm pretty much just a normal college student. And I probably should be studying on weekends instead. But at the end of the day, like it's college, and I feel like I'd be super sad if I didn't go out. And honestly, what makes CMU what it is are the students. And like, I really love my friends here. Bullying out with them on weekends is always super fun, of course, but also all the late nights that I've spent grinding with them has also just been a really good time. Oh yeah, and last thing is that people kind of shit on the food here, but I actually think it's really good. Like this is one of the places to eat on campus, and it's closed right now, but this is what the food looks like, and it's all you can eat, and I think it's pretty fucking good. Okay, yeah, so that brings us to the end of this week's video. Thanks so much for watching.